It's Space Station Week here at the National Space Centre, and I'm going to show you how you can grow your own sugar candy crystals and explain what they might have to do with some of the science that's taking place on the International Space Station at the moment. To make your own sugar crystals, you will need sugar, a saucepan, something to stir your sugar solution with, some water, preferably bottled or filtered, some food colouring if you want to give your crystals a nice colour, a jar, a pen or a stick, and a pipe cleaner or a piece of string, something to dangle in your sugar solution. To grow our crystals, we need to make a saturated sugar solution. By mixing a ratio of 3 parts sugar to 1 part water and heating it up, we can make sure that all of the sugar dissolves and the solution can't hold any more sugar. In this example, I'm going to use 2 cups of water, so I'll need to be using 6 cups of sugar. You want to bring the water to a simmer using a medium heat. So make sure, if you're a child, that you've got a grown-up around you to help you do this safely. Once the water is simmering, you can add your first cup of sugar. You want to be adding the sugar 1 cup at a time, and after each cup you want to stir the liquid until all of that sugar has dissolved. You'll know it's dissolved when the liquid becomes clear again and you can't see any more sugar crystals in the solution. Once the solution has gone clear, you can add the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and then the 6th cup of sugar, again making sure that the solution is clear each time. You will notice that as you add the sugar, the solution becomes more syrupy, and this is absolutely normal. But the key is we're wanting to make sure that we have got all of the sugar that can possibly be dissolved in the water dissolved, so that we have a super saturated solution. Once you have added all of your sugar to your liquid, you can then add your food colouring if you want to at this point, or any flavouring you might want to add, and then you want to bring the mixture up to a boil. Make sure that it gets nice and frothy, but don't let it boil for too long, no more than about 30 seconds or so, otherwise you might start to caramelise your mixture. Once your solution has boiled, you want to leave it about 20 minutes to cool down, and it will be very hot at this stage, so please make sure that no one touches it. While it's cooling, we can prepare the stick or the string, or in my case, pipe cleaner, to grow our crystals. And what we want to do is get it a little bit wet, brush off the excess water, and then just dip it into some additional sugar, tapping off the excess. This will give us some seed crystals, a place for crystals coming out of solution to hold on to. Once your solution has cooled down, you can then transfer it carefully into your jam jar. I've put some paper down underneath, and I'm using a ladle or a large spoon to transfer the liquid over. Please remember that even though it's been cooling, the sugar solution will still be very hot at this stage, and it should be a bit gloopy and syrupy. Making sure you leave some room at the top of your jar and that the bottom of your string or pipe cleaner sits a couple of centimetres above the bottom of your jar, you can put your nucleation site, your string, your pipe cleaner into the solution, and just make sure that it's sitting and not touching either of the sides. It's very normal for you to get crystals forming at the top or around the sides, so you don't want a bridge to form between unwanted crystals and your crystals. To finish off with, you'll want to put a bit of paper, kitchen towel or toilet roll over the top, just to stop anything falling into your jar. As water evaporates from the jar over time, the solution becomes too concentrated, and so sugar will start to drop out of the solution and deposit itself onto the seed crystals, slowly over time growing a larger and larger set of crystals, until after about a week or two, depending on your conditions, you should end up with a collection of crystals that look something like this. So what does this have to do with the space station? Well, one of the most amazing things about living on board the International Space Station is that astronauts will experience weightlessness. Now, this doesn't mean that there is no gravity up there. In fact, gravity is about 90% as strong up at the International Space Station as it is at the surface of the Earth. The space station is in orbit around the Earth, travelling at about 8 kilometres per second with a sideways direction with respect to the Earth. But the Earth's gravity is pulling it down, and so it's going at just the right speed that it is falling towards the Earth but moving sideways enough that it never actually hits. This means that the space station and everything in it is effectively falling. And so, just like you might feel when you go over a bump in the road and your stomach seems to lift for a tiny fraction of a second, astronauts have that all the time. This unique environment means that science can be done on the International Space Station that couldn't be done on Earth. For example, the biggest and most purest crystals that can be grown are grown in microgravity, without gravity trying to pull the crystals down or have convection happen. We can get nice pure crystals, and this has uses in medical science and materials science. In fact, most of the jobs that astronauts have on the International Space Station involve doing scientific experiments in materials, physiology, biology, chemistry, physics, anything that needs researching in this literally out of this world laboratory, astronauts might be asked to study.